pleasure, thanks for dropping by. This is the first main update we've done for the two Miltonias that are in the feeding project. So I'll take us through this. Okay, that's RO water, so that's just pure water so far. We might have to add some more water if I overcook the feed, because that's an odd amount for me. I don't normally mix fertiliser with such a small amount. So I'm only going to put a tiny little bit of feed in. And don't forget, I'm aiming to reproduce the level of feed that most of my pots would get. And the last time they were fed, the two plants in question got missed out because I wanted to do them separately, and in addition to that they were still quite wet. They still are a little bit wet, but we'll go over that in a minute. Oh, I haven't got my towel. Oh well, jeans need washing anyway. Oh, I'm naughty. Right, so first job is to see what level of mix we've got so far in that little bit. I only need enough to water one plant effectively, but I still need to know what's going on. And that's 118 it says on there, which is a little low. As I say, last time these were fed, now I do have a problem, of course, once I get my hands wet. I've got to keep the water well away from the fertiliser. Oh, the fans have just come on, it's unusual. So we will add a little bit more because that was a bit weak. Something like that. So that was a metric pinch rather than an imperial pinch. So that will up the feed level a bit. Shut that humid air out. That should sort itself out and the fans will go off in a minute. They're just changing the air and sucking out all my humidity. That's basically because I've turned the circulating fans off. So whatever warm air is in here now is drifting up to the roof and congregating, and that's where the sensor is. If the fans were on, that wouldn't happen. It's just explaining the noise away. But the camera's far enough away that that shouldn't be too distracting. Right, that's gone up to 195. That'll do. Right, so that's that. Now we've got to faff around with the pH meter. So if we can get some idea what that is. Again, I need to know the pH because in a minute I'm going to bump this feed level up. Yeah? Well, when I do that, the pH will drop, so I need to know what it is now to know what we're aiming at. Right, so that says that it's around 5.7. Far too low. So I've got my carbonate of soda, it says here. This is what I use for pH up. I've already got a wet hand, so now that is too much. So I'm going to have to wipe some off somewhere. Far too much, because my hand was quite wet. I'm going to try that. Now I know that's nothing, yeah, but you'd be surprised. Stir in, have another look. So I thought I heard somebody at the door, but no. Okay, that's taken it up to 6.3. Happy with that. Oh, as close as. Right. So now what we do is we take our green plant, which is the one that's getting fed as near to normal as possible, and now we can have a look at the plant. Now, state of play on this, I'm not going to measure the growth, mainly because I forgot my tape, but what we've got is new roots starting. You probably won't be able to see, because if I tip the plant up, anyway, at the base of the plant the new roots are starting. Now what's happening with these is they are staying relatively wet at the bottom, but they're not soggy wet because it's new media, but they are still wet. But what's happening is they're drying out totally at the top of the plant. The top of the plant's where the new roots are. Yeah, we don't want that. We want it damp where the new roots are. So we'll get this one watered. And what did we have? We had 195 and 6.3, didn't we? It'd be interesting to see what it is after I've watered this plant, won't it? See how much is washed through. Hopefully not a lot. Okay, so that's given it a good soak. I've got these two round the right way. I'll mess up our project, won't it, if I've got the two round the wrong way. I've got a feeling I have, you know. I need to go and check now, because if this is the one that's supposed to have the high feed, then I need to drop it down for the other one. So with my now wet hands, I'll just stop the camera a minute and go and check in my notes. Should have done that before we started, shouldn't I? Okay, plant's round the wrong way. The one we've just watered is the one that should be having the higher level of feed. Well, there's an easy way round it for now, bearing in mind those roots haven't got going yet, so the plant's mainly living off its reserves and isn't going to use much of this feed anyway. It did have some older roots when it was potted, but not a huge, you know, not a pot full. But what we can do now is just water this down. That means I've got some spare water now, because we won't use it all up, will we? Managed to get some water all over the meters, which is not good. Right, especially as this one's not waterproof. I'm just going to dry that off. Jeans are coming in handy. I could have got me towel while I was in there, couldn't I? Right, so what's that taken that down to? Let's give it a good stir. Right, that's okay. That's gone down to 110. So that was 195 for the higher feed plant and 110 for the lower one. Right, let's get that well out of the way of the water and go in my back pocket. But we still need to check what that's done to the pH, because in theory that's going to have raised the pH now, adding RO water in there. So what does it say? That's not dramatic. .4. It's not enough to worry about. You know, the difference of 1 point. It's just not enough to play with, so we won't bother with that then. So, so we had 195 and 6.3, and now the other one is going to be 110, 6.4. And again with this one, I might be able to show you that. If you can look, this growth that I've got in my hand here, if you follow it down and look underneath it, you can see all the new roots starting. Well, you might be able to, depends how I've got this angled. Okay, so the roots are starting on this one as well. So they're still in a similar comparison, if you see what I mean. They are still growing in a similar manner. And we are still sort of keeping them together at the moment. As I said, most of the food that's going in here at the moment is probably not going to get used to any great extent, because the new root system's not there yet. workshop nice and wet. I normally keep that dry if I can, but we're warm today, so it's soon going to change. Now, because I've watered these, what I need to do now is change them over. So I actually change their places, so they're not in exactly the same place all the time, because they're not in the same place, they're two different plants. So by changing their positions round, they both get a go in each of the positions. So if there is any major light differences, they'll cope with it okay, and they'll adjust accordingly. So okay, I'll go and update the notes, and we'll come back again probably in about 3 weeks' time, I would think, something like that. I mean, things will happen in between, and I'll update every time I do something with these plants. I update the spreadsheet, but I don't necessarily film. Okay, but I don't want to leave it too long between filming them, as it is a project at the end of the day. If I wait 3 months, everybody will have forgotten about it. So and we are keeping our eye on these throughout the whole season, so we don't want like 40 videos, do we? So I need to leave a reasonable gap. So I reckon about 3 weeks, and then we'll have a good go next time. We'll get the measure out, the ruler out, check the growth, the two growths that we benchmarked in the first video. We'll have a look at the roots and see how it's going. I don't suspect we're going to see any major difference with these two plants for probably 4 or 5 months, and then only because we keep repeat filming the same plant and checking the benchmark growths we may see a difference, but we're not going to see a difference for a while. Right, see you next time.